Hello, my name is Eva Cruz-Martinez. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico. I came to Green Bay in 1999. I've been living in Green Bay for 20 years now. I attended Eisenhower, Edison, Preble, and graduated from UWGB in 2017 with my bachelor's in education. I am currently now working with Casa ALBA as a secretary and helping as much as I can. At the beginning of my journey of living in Green Bay, we got the news that we were going to move here in 1999 from my dad, and we didn't want to. At the beginning, I was 8 years old, and I can recall thinking, like, I don't want to leave my family, my friends, my pet. I have a dog, and we were all very sad. We were crying. We didn't want to move, and my dad said that we were being ungrateful. So that happened very quickly. It was like in a matter of a month that we had to pack everything. It was one luggage for my siblings. I have 3 sisters and 3 brothers, and we all had to put like a little bit of clothing and left everything behind. Once we got here, it was a big culture shock, and I think that that's what a lot of kids my age and young adults go through. That it's like, whoa, it's a whole different culture, like the roads, the cars, the food. I remember my dad saying, like, oh, you gotta taste the burger, and then we went to Burger King. But those are memories that I cherish now. Later, as I started school, language was one of the barriers, and back then there wasn't a lot of bilingual teachers, and they didn't have ELL yet. So I was sitting in a classroom just trying to take in as much as I can, and my peers would translate sometimes for me, but most of the time I was just trying to see what was going on in the classroom. That happened for a few years until I was able to get into the EL program. Being in a classroom, I think more with kids that had similar obstacles and struggles helped me, because I was able to relate. And we would say, you know, like how it was hard to keep both cultures in a balance, because it was one that you wanted to be in, fit in, be accepted, and then also you go home and you speak Spanish only, and your parents are telling you, like, never forget where you come from, know your roots and your culture. So it was a lot to take in. While going through all that, we experienced, you know, racial discrimination. I didn't understand it at the beginning because I was young, but I would see my parents being mistreated, and I always wondered like why that was. And I didn't understand, but I wanted to defend them, and I just got the energy that they weren't being treated very nicely. But my parents always said, you know, like, just ignore it and move on. Now that I'm older, I wish I could go back and say something, because I can defend myself now. Going to school here also was, like I said, difficult. But my parents always pushed for education, but themselves didn't know how to read or write. I come from a place in Oaxaca where we're in the middle of nowhere, like in the mountains. There's no, at the time there was no like telephone or cell phones or television. So coming here it was, and then with that being said, it was just very hard. I feel like in the classrooms, when the topic of immigration would pop up, I was like the reference. I was the one that would get looked at, and that was very uncomfortable for me, because there were some harsh comments from other students that at the time I don't think they knew any better or what they were saying. But there was once a comment, you know, what should the system do with immigration? And some kids would say, like, oh, just deport them all, or use the military to kick them out. And to me, I didn't have a voice then, because I was scared. I didn't want to be picked on. I didn't want to stand out from the classroom, but I took all those emotions with, and then I would go home and tear up because those were, I think, points that communicate closely to my family, to relatives, to my neighbors. So I got affected with that. Once I got in college, also that was difficult because I was the first generation. A lot of kids don't have the parent to guide them or to know any better. So for me, it was just like figuring out everything by myself. My parents were like, here's our information and we're trusting you with it. And I would carry like a big folder with their like tax information, their social, everything like that. And I would try to get as much help from people. And to the advisors, like that was fairly new to them also, because I had all of their files, and to them it's like, well, you have it. Where's your mom and dad? But I explained it to them, you know, they can't read, they can't write. And I had to learn the process of that by myself. Now I feel like I have some experience, and now I can teach my nieces and nephews and other people from the community. I work intensively with trauma-informed children who experience severe trauma. So I learned how to also like manage my emotions, and then I identified some of the traumas of myself. And I feel like one of those is that you go through the system and nobody really talks about how you're affected. So now I'm able to reflect back and say like, okay, this is how you overcome that, or this is how you can manage discrimination a little bit better, but not to like react aggressive or on emotions. I can say that I feel like what kept me going were my parents, because they worked in factories doing the same thing for 8 hours, sometimes more than that, and it's very hard physical work. So I always had that in mind, that I didn't want to be in that position, and I wanted to help them. And that's why I wasn't the best student. I always was behind a little bit. I always struggled with reading and writing, but that kept me going, that my parents didn't have the opportunity that I have, and that I could do better. So I did that. I managed to graduate, and now my nieces and nephews tell me that I'm an example for them. And I think that that's what keeps me going, that I can help others. There's hope, there's opportunity, and this is my new home now. I couldn't see myself living in Mexico, and I don't know how it would have been if I was there, but I like it here. It's very nice, and yeah, I like to give back to my community.